أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد عن جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري أنه قال عن فاطمة الزهراء عليها السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله قال سمعت فاطمة أنها قالت دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال السلام عليك يا فاطمة فقلت عليك السلام قال إني أجد في بدني ضعفا فقلت لوذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف فقال يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به فأتيت بالكساء اليماني فغطيته بي وسرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلألأ كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن عليه السلام قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أماه فقلت عليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها راية جدي رسول الله فقلت نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله تأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء فقال عليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوضي قد أذنت لك فدخل معه تحت الكساء فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين عليه السلام قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أماه فقلت عليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني والثمرة فؤادي فقال لي يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأن راية جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء فدنا الحسين عليه السلام نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جدا والسلام عليك يا من اختاره الله أتأذن لي أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء فقال عليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافي أمتي قد أذنت لك فدخل معهما تحت الكساء فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله فقلت عليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها راية أخي وابن عمي رسول الله فقلت نعم ها وما ولديك تحت الكساء فأقبل علي عليه السلام نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله تأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء قال له عليك السلام يا أخي ويا وصي وخليفتي وصاحب لواء قد أذنت لك فدخل علي عليه السلام تحت الكساء ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال عليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء، فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرف الكساء وأومى بيد اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وحمتي، لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي، يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن عاداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم. إنهم مني وأنا منهم، فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم، وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. فقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان السماوات إني ما خلقت السماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيا ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبرائيل يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة، هم فاطمة وأبوها وبالها وبنوها. فقال جبرائيل يا ربي أتأذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض لأكون معهم السادسة؟ فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله. العلي الأعلى يقرئك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت السماء مبنية ولا أرضا مضحية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيا ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم، وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم فلتأذنني يا رسول الله. فقال رسول الله عليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء فقال لأبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. فقال علي عليه السلام لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي والذي بعثني بالحق واستفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفي جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وفاض شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال النبي ثانيا يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واستفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفي جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفي محموم إلا وفرج الله هما ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غما ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجة. فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وسعدنا وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة. اللهم صل على رحم الله من قرأ سورة مباركة الفاتحة.
افضل السلام محمد وآل محمد. Let us raise our hands and recite together. مدد کیجئے یا امام زمانہ مدد کیجئے یا امام زمانہ ہٹا دیجئے غیبت کا پردہ خدا را پردہ خدا را مدد کیجئے یا امام زمانہ مدد کیجئے یا امام. بڑی آفت ہے زمانے پہ مولا پریشان شیعہ کہاں جائے مولا پکارا تمہیں جب ہوا دل جو مضطر مدد کیجئے یا امام زمانہ مدد کیجئے یا امام. بلاؤں نے خیرا نہیں کوئی ساتھی اندھیرا ہے ہر سو اداسی ہے چھائی تمہارے قدم سے ہو دنیا منور مدد کیجئے یا امام زمانہ مدد کیجئے. بھور میں ہے کاشتی بچانے کو آؤ غم زندگی سے چھڑانے کو آؤ محمد کی جان ہو سفینے کی لنگر مدد کیجئے یا امام زمانہ مدد کیجئے. گنہگار ہوں شرمندہ مولا، مگر آپ پر ہی ہے ہم کو بھروسہ، کرو رہبری اب براہ پیمبر، مدد کیجئے یا امام زمانہ، مدد کیجئے۔ تمنا یہ دل میں بہت کچھ ہے میری، ہے امید ہوگی بہت جلد پوری، میرے حق میں کر دیجئے جو کچھ ہو بہتر، مدد کیجئے یا امام زمانہ، مدد کیجئے یا امام۔ ہٹا دیجئے غیبت کا پردہ خدا را، پردہ خدا را، مدد کیجئے میں زمانہ، مدد کیجئے یا امام زمانہ۔ افضل السلام محمد وآل محمد۔
Rahman ar-Rahim, Sayyid Hassan, Rizvi, respected elders, dearest brothers and sisters in Iman, Assalamu alaikum jami wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. For the love of our 11th holy Imam, Imam Hassan al-Askari, sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Surah Fatiha is requested for all marhumin listed on the screen, as well as all other marhumin. Surah Mubarak al-Fatiha. Dua Shramars is requested for all those in need here and elsewhere, as well as those listed on the screen. Let us recite together. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amma yujibu al-mustarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu as-su'. Amma yujibu al-mustarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu as-su'. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. Ya Allah. Let us now invite Sayyid Hassan Rizvi to please come forward for tonight's Majlis. By Muhammad wa Muhammad salawat. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين بالقاسم المصطفى محمد، ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الأولين والآخرين إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Mu'mineen, mu'minat, brothers and sisters in Islam and Iman, Salamun alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tonight we are celebrating the Wiladat of our 11th Holy Imam, Imam Hassan ibn Ali al-Askari alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma sallam. So, if you recall, these past few Thursday nights, we've been talking about ihsan, specifically ihsan bil waliday, ihsan to parents. So I wanted to find something that was related to that topic in the words of the Imam. And specifically, if you remember where we left off, I think last Thursday, was we were trying to figure out and expand the idea that, obviously we know a person's supposed to be respectful to their parents regardless of how their parents treat them. Even if their parents push them towards ma'asiyah, guna, and shirk and things like that, there's still a level of love and honor and respect to the parents. But we were trying to figure out, okay, well, what causes rudeness and disobedience and a disrespectful sort of nature in some children towards their parents, right? What are some root causes of that? So we looked at that last Thursday. What I wanted to share is another perspective tonight, and again, this is something that I came across while looking at some of the various riwayat. And again, this is attributed to Imam al-Askari alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. And he's reported to have said, "Jur'atul walad ala al-waladi fi sigari tad'u ila al-uquq fi kibari." That the jur'ah of a child, or the jur'at of a child, which is a child's sort of boldness or rudeness to some degree, the rudeness or boldness of a child towards their walid when they're young will lead and eventually cause them to be disobedient when they get older. So it seems very simple sort of cause and effect thing that the Imam seems to be outlining. That when you see a child, and when they're young, if they have this jur'at, right? So jur'at exists in most of our languages too, right? And so it's originally Arabic, we use it in Farsi, Urdu, and other types of languages. So jur'at is this boldness that somebody has. It's not a positive type of courageousness or things like that. Jur'at is pretty much exclusively used in a negative sense. Like, how could you be so bold? How could you be so audacious? How could you have the nerve to so-and-so like that or speak to me like that? That's usually the context over here. One of the other contexts that we see in many other du'as, not in the Quran, because the word jur'ah is not used in the Quran, but other riwayat and places that you see is jur'ah in terms of jur'ah ala Allah. Is this jur'ah for somebody to sin towards Allah? How could somebody be so bold that they would do ma'asiyah and guna towards their khaliq and their creator? So it's that same sort of idea. Now, generally when we hear a hadith like this, right, when it talks about behavior of children, right, that the jur'at, the boldness, audacity, the nerve, the bad attitude, a stubborn, arrogant attitude of a child towards their parent when they're younger will lead to them being disobedient when they're older. So we see something like this, and a person's like, okay, what's the first impression? It's like simple. I need to stop my child from being rude, right? That's what any parent would probably understand from reading something like this. If I see that my child is being rude, is being disrespectful, or they're bold and audacious right now when they're younger, I have to cut them off. If that behavior continues, then they're going to be disobedient when they get older. So I need to nip it in the bud, and if I see them acting bold and audacious and having this jur'at towards me as a parent, I have to stop it then. So, okay, well, how are we going to stop it? Well, let's go through the ways that normally, sometimes you and I may do that. Either we're going to do something verbally, right? If, let's say, a child talks back to us, right? If somebody young speaks back, they speak something very bold and audacious, what do? Something usually like, don't speak like, you can't speak like that to me. Like, how dare you? You're not allowed to talk like that to somebody who's older. That's usually one of the responses. Sometimes, this is the milder version of it. Sometimes people will even get to the level where they're screaming and yelling. Right? So I'm saying it over here in kind of a monotone way. But sometimes when that happens, something within us just gets inflamed, right? We get furious. How dare you speak like that to me? We get really upset. We start screaming and yelling. And the idea in the back of our mind is that they need to know that this is not allowed. So I have to raise my voice, I have to scream, and I have to yell so they know that this is bad. right? You increase the level of sort of harshness so that they know that this is really bad. If they see that I'm screaming and yelling, that then it's going to connect for the child that this is a really bad thing, I'm not going to do it again. That's how we're rationalizing it. Spoiler alert, I'm going to get to in a little bit that that's not the way to do it, but I'm telling you that's how we do it right now. That's one way, right? The other way is beyond the verbal stuff, beyond yelling, screaming, and saying, how dare you, this is rude behavior, calling it out. Sometimes it's that, and then sometimes it's just that, or we do something else, or we add on something which is usually in terms of some sort of physical consequence and physical punishment. And that has different levels too. It could be the minute that behavior happens, right, you say, you can't talk like that. Since you did that, now there's a consequence, there's a punishment involved. There's milder versions that some parents will utilize, right? Maybe it's taking away a privilege. When you talk like that to me, then maybe, I don't know, no dessert, or no screen time, or you can't use your device for the rest of the day, or this toy now you can't use it. Some sort of thing that, hey, if you speak like that to me, I'm going to take away a privilege that you have. You do like that, then I'll take it away from you. Simple, right? That's one way. Some people will actually go and physically discipline them, whether it's slapping or hitting, grabbing, something like that, right? I hope it's obvious that I'm not advocating for any of this, but again, I'll get to how it goes to us, but I want to at least lay out the way that a lot of us, unfortunately, what we do sometimes. Sometimes people say, look, they try to take a higher road, at least internally. Like, I'm not going to put my hands on my child, so I don't want to take anything away either, so I'm I'm a modern parent, so I'll put him in timeout. Right? So timeout has been a technique utilized by many parents to this day, but it was popularized many, many years ago. It's that, hey, you need to go and think about what you've done. And the argument that is going to exist in a parent is that, yeah, I'm actually taking the higher road now. Even if I yell, well, I'm not being physical, I'm not going to hurt them, I'm going and setting them aside so that they can go think about what they did. So they can think and realize that this is not good behavior. And when they do that, we'll even use some Islamic or pseudo-Islamic rationalization, right? Oh, it's tafakkur for them. They're reflecting, they're contemplating. It's ibadat, so I'm going to go send my kid off to do some ibadat, right? No, I don't have to, I guess, I've spelled that out kind of, but I think as you're hearing this, you kind of realize, we all kind of know that. Is this really ideal behavior? No. This is really not the way to handle this. And our reaction to this initially is actually the problem. You hear a hadith like this, we're like, yeah, it's the child that's the problem. The fact that they're so bold and audacious, they have this jur'ah, I have to correct that behavior. So what do? We go after that problem. The issue is actually that it's a symptom. There's something else deeper that has to be addressed. And that's where it takes a bit more effort, inshallah, which we will go to now, with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So, for anything in parenting, anything in tarbiyah, and this even, I'd say, extends out to any sort of interactions that you and I are going to have in our life. When we even read some of these riwayat, which give some principles about dealing with children or younger kids, whatever it is. Now, you can take it to mean me as a parent with my children. You can extend it out to say me as somebody who's older dealing with anybody else who's younger, maybe niece, nephew, cousin, grandchild, anything. That's one other way. Or you can extend it and say anybody who I may think is a little bit inferior to me. Right? They can be viewed like that as well too. Or you can expand it to the largest degree and say, is this type of behavior applicable in any sort of degree? Meaning we can try to extrapolate from some of these riwayat, is this speaking style or this disciplinary style, is this good akhlaq to begin with anybody? Right? Should I be even engaging this at all? So what we look at is, okay, when this happens, somebody talks back to me, a child talks back to me. For a lot of us, something does ignite, something burns within us. I'll tell you, I get furious. Like, how can they speak back to somebody like me? How dare they do something like this? So there's anger that develops, right? And, to work on controlling that, that's almost like a lifelong sort of journey for some people, right? Because that's like a initial sort of emotional reaction. Now, yes, the idea is to work on the response, but sometimes people have to realize, look, there's going to be something internally within us. The minute somebody says something or does something, it's very hard to, change the first emotional reaction you're going to have. Sometimes when you're in a conversation with somebody, and they're about to say, like, okay, I'm going to say something, but don't get offended. I'm not going to quote which movie this is from, because that'll show you what kind of movies I watch, but in a certain movie, they're like, look, I can try to control what I say to you, how I respond to you, but I can't control my emotional response right away. So you don't tell me not to get offended or not to get sad or upset. I can't control that right away, but I can try not to yell, I can try not to scream, right? That's the sort of key here. So the emotions that you and I are going to feel when somebody speaks to a certain way, especially a younger person, a child speaks like that, don't, shoot for the highest level possible, which is no, I want no anger at all. No, anger for a lot of us is going to be there. So, okay, that anger is going to be there. So the question is, where should this speech come from? I'm going to react, and I should react to it. I have to react to it. This is an opportunity for growth for myself and for my child, or for this person I'm dealing with. Where exactly is my speech going to come from? And this is where we can grab some more wisdom from our Imam al-Askari alayhi salatu wassalam. He's reported to have said, "Qalbul ahmaq fi fami," that the heart of an ahmaq, a fool, is where it's in his mouth. Wa famu al-hakim fi qalbi, but the mouth of a hakim, a wise person, is in his heart. Meaning what? That there are some people who are foolish, who don't think. Everything is what? It's on the tip of their tongue. It just comes out. There is no stage of contemplation, of self-control. It's the minute there's any sort of emotion that happens, whether it's anger, whether it's sadness, whether it's happiness, whatever it happens to be, passion, whatever it is, they come out and they say it, and that's it. I was just watching an interview today, and everybody keeps watching all these Piers Morgan's interviews now. This guy's getting way too much airtime, and I don't like it, but everybody keeps watching these interviews. And there's I think a Palestinian lawyer that was on there. And just like when any sort of Palestinian individual is going to come and speak about what's happening and the oppression that's taking place, it's going to be fiery for them. It's going to be very difficult for them to control and be composed, right? Especially given the ethnic cleansing and genocide that's been taking place, right, for 75 years. So that sort of reaction is there, right? That because of that passion, they're just going to speak and speak. And usually these interviewers, right, the ones who are usually pro-Zionist, they know that. So they push and they poke buttons and they prod, right? They're like, let's see how much I can do until I get them to say something that's going to make them look foolish, right? Right? In the words of a very other famous person that once came, right? Some people need to calm down, right? That's the issue there. And when you don't look calm, then usually you end up losing out in an argument right away. It's usually the calm person that ends up winning. It depends on the audience. If you watch Fox News, sometimes it's not the calm person, it's the one who's screaming and yelling the loudest. Sometimes they win out. But generally speaking, most people, they see somebody calm, cool, collected, making a speech, even if the points don't make any sense. Compare that to somebody who's loud and screaming. They're like, oh, well, the calm person is the one that makes the most sense. Emotional battle, emotional argument. And that's what happens sometimes. People, the first thing that comes out, again, according to the Imam, for a fool, they just blurt everything out right away. They don't allow something to go through the filter of their heart first. And that's where the other side is. The mouth, meaning the speech of a hakim, a wise person, is in their heart. Why? Because they're like, okay, whatever I'm about to say, I'm going to filter it first. Is what I'm about to say, is it true? Is it wise? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Is it the best way possible? They'll filter everything and then they'll go ahead and say it. Right? This is something that I remember I learned in one of these like intro to communication classes, is that for a lot of people, and for any of you who have ever been part of a legal deposition before, right, where you have to sit there, lawyers and things like that, what they say is that, look, when the other side is asking all these questions to you, do not answer right away. They say you stop, take at least 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. Even if you know the answer, even if it's like your name, just take a few seconds, think about it, and then give a response. Because the opposing counsel, what they try to do is try to get your passions excited, so you just say something you actually don't end up meaning. Right? So that's a technique that's used by interrogators and people like that, right? Is just to push and push. Where when somebody sits, they're slow. And in dialogue, this is a great trick as well. It's a great technique to be an active listener, as they say. Somebody's speaking and they're saying all these things. Sometimes people, they take pauses when they're making their statements. And it's a bad trait to interrupt somebody in the middle of their speech, right? So a good trait that I was taught a long time ago is that when it seems like somebody's done, you take about a 5-second pause. You sit there, maybe nod and listen, and see. If after 5 seconds there's nothing else, that means they're probably done then, and then you can go ahead and respond. That also gives you time to contemplate what you just heard as well too, right? So it gives you time, you sit there, you process. The way that I tell people, and these are only for Matrix fans, if you don't know the Matrix, it's not going to make sense to you. It's like bullet time, right? This whole slow-mo thing is that you're trying to, all the stuff that's happened, you want to be able to process it. You want to slow down time. You want to slow down these ideas so you have the time and understanding to figure out, what did I just hear? How is the best way to respond to it? Most of us are not quick on our feet. That's a very small amount of people are that quick where they can just respond like that in a second. You see a lot of other people, especially the wise ones, they're slow, they're tempered, they sit, they stop. Even if I've mentioned before in some riwayat, which we have from the Ahlul Bayt, alayhimus salam, is that even when people would come and ask them questions, they would lower their head sometimes, they would sit and contemplate, do istighfar, do some sort of tasbih. The ulama, many of them are in this practice too. After a few seconds or a few moments, then they would answer. So the ulama, the reason, it's different for the ma'asumin obviously, but the ulama, the reason they would give is that we want to make sure any answer that we give is devoid of any ego. There's no nafs involved in what we're about to say. And one of the ways that we can do that is when somebody asks a question or makes a statement, I'll stop, I'll contemplate, I'll go down, I'll do some dhikr, la ilaha illallah, astaghfirullah, something like that, to make sure that there is no nafsani nature, there's no ego left in what is about to be said. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So in regards to this idea that we're talking about in terms of a child speaking back, yeah, we might get fiery, we might get angry. And some of us, I don't want to say it's a natural reaction and it's good. It happens, right? I don't want to dismiss the fact that it's not good to have this, but for a lot of us, that is our default state right now. We get upset, okay. Take a few seconds, calm down as much as you can. Just say, okay, let me process this. Even if you have to say that out loud, it's a trick that some have given too. You can tell your child, look, what you said, I'm feeling very angry based on what you just said and how you reacted to me. I don't want to speak in this state because I know what I'm going to say, I'm going to regret, and it's not going to be good. So I'm going to respond to you in, 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I need to go cool off, and then I'm going to come back and say something, but we have to talk about this. You don't have to address everything right in that moment. Not every single moment requires an immediate tarbiyah response right then and there, especially if I'm not ready for it. If I'm not ready to respond in the best manner possible, then, okay, I have to step away from the situation. That allows you to contemplate and process, to breathe. I'm not going to advise doing yoga, but whatever you have to do, as I'd say, if you're sitting down, stand up. You're standing, sit down, lay down, change positions, splash water, do wudu, go for a jog. Other ways that some of you cool off. I'm not going to mention the ways that some of you do it when you go in the back and you go outside in certain areas and you do something, right, to help calm down. Whatever it is. Calm down, relax, and then engage. And when a child sees this, this is a greater form of tarbiyah than responding right away. Because what they're learning then is that, okay, so when somebody gets upset, when my parent gets upset, rather than just spitting out something and spewing venom, they calm down and then they come and try to do something in a better manner. But eventually, that younger child will recognize that, oh, so that's what I'm supposed to do in this situation. Because they learn by observation. Like, okay, so that's how my mom or dad handles it, so I'm going to do the same thing then. Over and over again, if it's a repeated behavior they watch, they'll start to say, you'll see this in kids too. They'll say, Ammi, Abu, Mama, Baba, I'm really upset right now. I need to go calm down or do something. Right? They themselves will start to pick up on this kind of behavior as well, which inshallah, hopefully we can pass on to all of our children, inshallah. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. There's one other point that I want to mention before we end tonight. And I have to tell you, I wasn't being fair to the translation of this first hadith. I have to go back to it. Imam said, Jur'atul walad ala walidi fi sighari. The jur'ah of a child towards his walid when he's young, tad'u ila al-uquq fi kibrahi. That will lead to disobedience when that child grows up. So I said parent. If we're being very precise over here, it's saying the jur'ah of a child towards their father. It doesn't say to mother. There's a lot to mention over here on what the ulama have mentioned of why it's saying the boldness and audacity of a child towards their father rather than mother. I think the fathers here can figure that out. And even the children here, when we have maybe had this jur'ah towards our own fathers. I think we can understand that too. There's a difference in our interaction, most of us. I'm speaking about, hopefully this is not too controversial. I think it's not controversial for this crowd. Most of us have traditional gender roles. In our families, the father, the mother, usually very traditional in terms of parenting and raising and styles, right? So normally there's a father, masculine personality in the house, and then there's a feminine and motherly personality in the house. That's usually how it works out. Yes, there are exceptions. Let's not talk about that. Please don't at me or whatever. That's how it is normally, right? Okay. There, the child will notice the difference too, and children understand that. That's why in almost every household, there's a difference in the way the child interacts with the father versus how they interact with the mother. There's a difference in hajat and request. When a child wants something, sometimes they go to the father. But normally what you'll see is they end up going to the mother first because the mother won't say no, generally speaking. Or if the father says no first, then they go to the mother, right? This is general things. What a father, what that figure represents. Now we've talked before about the different names of Allah and the manifestations. I don't want to get into all that. That's for a separate session. Father, this wali of a house, what do we represent? What should we represent? It's the idea of authority, the idea of discipline, the idea of protection, of guardianship. We are the children's understanding of what is true wilaya. What does authority, guardianship, and hierarchy actually look like? If we want our children to understand a good form of walaya and authority and hierarchy and guardianship, it's up to the father to show that in the household. And when you see that it's not there, then what's going to happen later on is that they start to disrespect authority. Why? Because what they're learning when they're younger, as the Imam is saying, they're learning disrespectful behavior from their wali when they're younger. Like my wali, when I was younger, they don't think this out loud, but it's subconscious for them. They're like, well, my wali, my father, when I was younger, when I was bold and I had this ability to just speak like this to them, and they screamed at me, they yelled at me, they hit me, whatever it is. So that's what I understand of authority now. So if that's what authority is going to do, forget it. Then why would I do that? The Imam is saying very clearly, the wording the Imam uses is interesting, right? تَدْعُو إِلَى الْعُقُوقِ. That literally, it's da'wah. We're doing tabligh in that sense. You are literally planning for children to go and switch to disobedience with that kind of behavior. And what's interesting too is, when we're thinking about people in general being disobedient to Allah, nowadays, right, the vast majority of Muslims here, they don't follow ahkam, they don't follow the sharia. The overwhelming majority of Muslims, right? These westernized, Americanized, whatever it is, Muslims, they don't follow. Right? Hijab issues, salah issues, all those things. Okay? Not to mention other socio-political views that they have about stuff, right? Left-wing, LGBT, all that stuff. But generally speaking, ahkam, sharia is not there. One of the reasons why that happens, and there's plenty of studies that have been done, is that the concept of Allah that they have been given or that they see in their household, Allah as being a authority figure, and then the father being the first version of Allah's manifestation of power and might and majesty and authority that they see, they don't like it. Like, this is mean, this is angry, this is spiteful, this is hateful, and all this. So I'm going to disrespect authority for the rest of my life. If this is what authority actually means, if this is what it means to be part of some sort of religion that this is Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, and all that. Like, there's no Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim here. It's all just hate and rules and all this other stuff. So most of these children, they don't think about God in a loving way because it was never shown to them like that. Their father should have been able to show the positive form of wilaya in the same way the Ahlul Bayt extended this too, as fathers and as leaders of their community. They did the same thing, and that's why people wanted to obey them, obviously over anybody else. When we don't show that, then this is reflective of our sort of disobedience to Allah as well too. So the way that many individuals, the way that they show that sort of level of disobedience, it's because they don't have a respect for that authority. Okay, fine. Allah, you created me. Sure. I get rizq from you. Sure. But I just don't respect your authority. I don't respect the way you've created me and what you've done in my life and all these other rules and stuff. I don't have respect for it. So why am I going to obey? And you see the exact same psychology exists in a household too. Whereas a person, when they see the behavior, especially of a father, and they see the way that they're acting, they're like, well, why am I going to respect this person? They weren't a good wali. They weren't a good protector. They weren't XYZ, all these things. So why am I going to respect them? Why am I going to obey them? What's the point? They haven't given me a reason for that. And that's why these principles that we've been given by the Ahlul Bayt, which I'm going to end over here, I don't want to go into it much longer, of the first 7 years being the years where they are the Sayyid of the household. The second 7 years is where they become the abd. The first 7 years, the reason they're the Sayyid is that, look, we have to prepare and build the love and the reason for them to become an abd and obedient later on in life. If this 7-7-7 system is followed, those first 7 years, a child is shown that obedience is done out of love. This respect is earned, and here's a loving relationship that you're going to have with your parents, especially your father. Then that second phase, 7 to 14, then because of the relationship they've built with their father, especially, both parents obviously, but especially their father, then when the father gives an order later on in life, they're not going to question it. Because in the back of their head, they're going to say, yes, my father took care of me, protected me, loved me, did X, Y, Z, was kind to me, corrected me in a loving manner when I was younger. So when my father gives me an order now, why am I going to say no? If I disagree with it, well, okay, who cares? It's my father. He's got to have some wisdom behind what he's saying. Even if I disagree, that's fine too. So that arrogance that sometimes develops in children is not going to be there anymore. They still might hold to their own opinions, but the ego that may have developed when they were younger, when they didn't see the father destroy their ego, that ego will be lesser in them, inshaAllah ta'ala. Salawat ala Muhammad wa Muhammad. Okay, we can move on to our quiz, assuming that, I don't know if it worked or not. Quiz ready? Yes, it's ready, okay. So you guys can start logging in. If you can recite another salawat ala Muhammad wa Muhammad. Oh, okay, I guess don't log in because we're starting. What's going on? I think they paused it. I hope they did. I don't know. Okay, yeah, there we go. People are joining. And we're still working on figuring out how we can get the name stuff going. So for now, I'll just have to call out the icons and avatars we're using. So, salam alaikum to donut, dragon, spade. Is it heart emoji or heart eyes emoji, lollipop? I think there's a tiger, it's like a freighter or a yacht or something. Strawberry, crown, bear, worm. Or caterpillar, I can't tell what that is. Rowboat, wolf or coyote, I think. Hearts. Got a choo-choo train, very nice. Crab or lobster, I think it's a crab, yeah. Angel. Woof, woof. Oh, I don't know, what flag is that? The blue and yellow one? Is it Sweden? Yeah. Koala, Santa. Okay. I think that's enough. Let's get started. Good luck to everybody. Question number 1. What does Askar mean? We're celebrating the Wiladat of the 11th Imam. We should know what his name means or his title means. Does it mean brave, strong, army, or all of the above? What does Askar mean? That was fast. That means everybody should know what it is then. I'm surprised. Yeah, it means army, right? Askari, having to do with the idea of army because of him being stuck and forcibly put in an army barracks, right, when he was in Samarra. Second question. The word Askar in Arabic comes from the Farsi word what? Asghar, Lashkar, Azhar, or none of the above? So I already gave you part of the answer, which is the word Askar does come from a Farsi word, according to many linguists. Everyone has voted. What's going on back there? No. There we go. Yes, okay, most of you got it. Yeah, Lashkar, which is the Farsi word for army. Where would Turkish get it from? So you guys are taking it just from the Arabic, which then took it from the Farsi. It's the sharing of languages, alhamdulillah. It's wonderful, right? Okay. So far, MMJ, 1947. I don't like that year, but very close in second place, Ted. Oh yeah, I forgot. There's still issues with name changes and stuff. And third place is Wali. Okay, Wali. Let's see if you can get up there. All right. 2 more questions. Imam al-Askari alayhi salam has said that evil scholars will create doubt for which group? The weak Shi'as, the strong Shi'as, the weak ulama, scholars, or all of the above. There's one hadith that is attributed to the Imam where he describes the ulama as-su and talks about how they create shak for either one or more of these groups. Uh-oh. People, I think, were hesitant on that one. That's why you took extra time. Well, most of you got it, though, yeah. So it's for the weak, the du'afa among the Shia, right? So if you see that, okay, I can't say anything. No commentary. It's okay. We'll keep going. I think you know what my commentary is going to be anyway, so it's okay. Okay, final question. Let's see. Which term is used to refer to the permanent expulsion of Palestinians from their homes in 1948, as well as the ongoing occupation and persecution? Is it intifada, halaka or halaka, nakhba or nakba? Which of these words, it's an Arabic word, refers to what took place in 1948 and is still used to this day to describe the situation and the plight of the Palestinians? Oh boy. It's nakba, not nakhba. And I wonder where you guys got that mispronunciation from. It's nakba, yes, not nakhba. That kha pronunciation, akher. Let's see if, oh man. Let's see if the leaderboards have changed at all. Let's see. Oh, yes, Ted, you jumped from second to first. Good job, Ted. 3,835 points. Congratulations to you. I think what MMJ had it in second. What Wali? Good job, third place. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala Ahl Baytihi at-Tayyibin at-Tahirin.
نور آنکھوں کا میری بھرا دیجئے یا امام زمانہ کرم کیجئے یا امام زمانہ کرم کیجئے غیر کے در پہ کیوں جائے فریاد کو آپ سر پہ سلامت ہو امداد کو مانگنے کا سلیقہ بتا دیجئے یا امام زمانہ کرم یا امام زمانہ کرم کیجئے جس گھڑی آپ کی دید ہو جائے گی در حقیقت میری عید ہو جائے گی زندگی میں وہ دن بھی دکھا دیجئے یا امام زمانہ کرم یا امام زمانہ کرم کیجئے ہر گھڑی آپ یوں تو میرے دل میں ہے اور یقین ہے کہ موجود محفل میں ہے سب کی نظروں سے پردہ ہٹا دیجئے یا امام زمانہ کرم کیجئے یا امام نہ کرم کیجئے آپ کے دست قدرت میں ہے دو جہاں آپ کے گھر ملے دین حق و امان پھر سے کعبے کو کعبہ بنا دیجئے یا امام زمانہ کرم کیجئے یا امام زمانہ کیجئے آپ حجت خدا کو ہے منتظر سامرا کی طرف ہے ہماری نظر پردہ غیب کو اب اٹھا دیجئے یا امام زمانہ کرم کیجئے یا امام زمانہ کیجئے جو دعا دل میں ہے سب کی سن لیجئے جو ہے مشکل میں ان کی مدد کیجئے اور مریضوں کو جلد شفا دیجئے یا امام زمانہ کرم کیجئے یا امام زمانہ کیجئے نور آنکھوں کا میری بھرا دیجئے یا امام زمانہ کرم کیجئے پر محمد وآل محمد صلوات
السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا نبي الله السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين السلام عليك أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي السلام عليك يا حجة ابن الحسن يا صاحب الزمان السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسخر الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك وجعلنا من أنصارك ورحمة الله وبركاته اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك ثوى وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك أرحم الراحمين سورة المباركة الفاتحة بسم الله